Namaste everyone, and welcome to our session today about the Yamas and the Niyamas. Through this series, we are going to be exploring the Ashtang Yoga of Muni Patanjali. Muni Patanjali was the expounder of yoga who helped to categorize and systematize the entire philosophy of the yogic practices. So in our series, we are going to go through the 8 different limbs of yoga and try to understand them step by step so that we have a better understanding of the overall process of yoga and we don't just limit it to asanas. So let me just tell you the 8 different limbs first, and then we'll discuss which ones we are going to focus on today. So we have Yam, Niyam, Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan and Samadhi. These are the 8 different limbs. And from these 8 different steps, today we are going to focus on Yam and Niyam, the first 2 limbs of yoga. Now you might be wondering, what are these Yam Niyam? So Yam and Niyam are the behavioral and attitude changes suggested by yoga. These are moral and ethical codes of discipline that will help you to do better in your yoga practice. Now the problem is, these are not very commonly known, and that's because we usually jump directly to asanas without focusing on these philosophical aspects of yoga. So let's take a step back from asanas and understand the Yam and Niyam first. So let's get to understanding the Yamas. We have 5 different Yamas which talk about the universal discipline or how we should socially behave. And this is really important because it helps us to understand how our behavior should be towards other people. So let's look at the first subsection of the Yama. The very first one is ahimsa, also known as non-violence. Now you might have heard of this earlier also because Gandhiji really popularized it during his time. But I think what has happened is we only look at non-violence from a very physical perspective, and we think if we don't physically harm people, then we're not being violent. But the truth is, violence can also happen verbally through the words we speak and also mentally through the thoughts we think. Every time you think badly about another person or you just think of harming somebody else, you're still engaging in violence through your thoughts and your belief systems. So Muni Patanjali in his sutras suggests that not only do we have to not physically harm people, but mentally and spiritually also, we have to be convinced that we don't want to harm somebody else. And you know why? Because that somebody else is just an extension of who you are. And when you really start to see people as your own, you don't feel like harming them. You feel like nurturing and taking care of them. So that is the first element and the most basic understanding of ahimsa or non-violence. Now let's move to the next one. We then come to satya, alright? And now you might be wondering, well, that's simple. That just means telling the truth, but I always tell the truth. Well, the thing is, all the time we get caught up in a little web of white lies. And we just pass it off as it's not a big deal. I haven't lied, I haven't told a big lie. But the thing is, according to yoga, even a white lie counts as a lie. And so we have to be careful and be aware of what we are saying and how we are speaking. If you really adopt truthfulness, what will start to happen is you will first and foremost be truthful with yourself. You'll stop treating yourself, stop saying things that are not true to yourself. And that's the first service that you'll do. Second, you'll start being truthful with the rest of the world also. And this will greatly help because there won't be any falsehood. Everybody is just speaking their truth and trying to be the best version of themselves. So I know it sounds a little challenging, but trust me, satya is something that we really want to follow using this path of the yamas. Alright? So that is satya. Now let's come to the third one. The third one is known as asteya. Now what is asteya? Asteya refers to not stealing. And you might be wondering, well, I'm not a thief. I don't actually steal, or have never robbed something from anyone. But again, when Patanjali talks about asteya, he's not only referring to the physical elements, he's also talking about the spiritual and mental elements. Think about this. When you have people close to you at home and you just, without their permission, steal their time, steal their attention, steal their affection, you're still stealing because they didn't necessarily give it to you. You, without their consent, may have taken it. And then because they're close to you, pass it off as well. They have to. I deserve it. But the truth is, nobody owes us anything. And if we take something from someone without their consent, it is wrong. So according to the Yamas, it's really important for us to be aware that we are asking people for their permission if we're taking anything from them. And it's not only applicable to physical, but also to our behavior and our mental attitudes. So try this, trust me, makes a huge difference in your life. So this was asteya. Now let's come to the fourth principle. The fourth principle is known as brahmacharya. Now brahmacharya is quite a misunderstood concept in today's day and age. I know that it refers to celibacy, but it's not only telling you how to conduct yourself sexually, but it's also telling you that you should conserve your energy and use it in the right channels. So if we look at it very simply, it just means putting energy where you align. Don't put energy in things that waste your time, that are not productive for you, that don't help you in your yoga sadhana. And I know this is easier said than done. We might have started the yoga practice, but the minute junk food comes in front of us, it's very hard to control ourselves. It's very hard to have that discipline. But brahmacharya teaches you that because it teaches you to delay gratification. And it teaches you that what's more important is allowing your energy to retain itself and not wasting it in things that don't matter to you. So for me personally, following brahmacharya really helped because it helped me along the yoga path. Then when I started doing my asanas, having taken up brahmacharya, I could feel the difference because I was so much more disciplined and I could feel that expansion of energy happening in my body. So trust me, I know it sounds tough, but brahmacharya is definitely something as young minds we want to try and implement. With that, let's move to number 5, which is aparigraha. So aparigraha refers to not hoarding or not encircling. And again, you might be wondering, what does that even mean? I don't really encircle anything. But all of us, when it comes to self-preservation, we all have a tendency to want to hoard and keep everything to ourselves. The biggest example is before the pandemic hit, if you noticed, a lot of general stores and shops were just empty. Sanitizer bottles were just gone. Why? Because of the human tendency to self-preserve. And this tendency pushes us to hoard, to encircle, to call something mine and not give it to somebody else. Now, why is this a problem? Because when you encircle, you're defensive. You're saying, I don't trust that the universe will provide for me, so I will hoard and provide for myself. On the other hand, if you choose to keep your arms open, saying, I will receive whatever the universe chooses to give me, I'm open to receiving different things, different experiences flow into your life and you see the benefit of serendipity. But when we hoard and behave egoistic and selfish, we tend not to see those magical moments because we've shut ourselves to them. We think that we are the only ones who can take care of ourselves and nobody else is looking out for us. So this tendency to encircle or to hoard is an egoistic tendency, and on the path of yoga, we want to be careful of this. So that we're always considering other people, thinking about their needs, thinking about, can I help them? If I hoard this, will they not get it? Should I do something? Should I help them get it as well? And having these thoughts makes you more human. It helps you to want to share rather than encircle. So these are the 5 different phases of our yamas, all right? Now let's recap them so that you don't forget. First yama is known as ahimsa or non-violence. Second one is known as satya or truthfulness. Third one is known as asteya or not stealing. And the fourth one is brahmacharya, celibacy, conservation of energy so that it expands in the right direction. And the fifth one is aparigraha, also known as not hoarding, not encircling. Alright, so I hope you've understood these 5 different yamas. You can also feel free to take notes or write down some points so that it stays in your mind and you can always go back to it later. With that, let's move to the second group known as Niyamas, okay? And this is quite a common Hindi word, so you may have heard of this. Niyamas is niyam, rules of self-discipline. So the first one was social discipline, now we are looking at self-discipline. Let's understand the 5 different ways of self-discipline. The first one is known as shaucha, okay? This refers to cleanliness. Now, cleanliness, we might be thinking, I take a bath every day, I keep myself clean. But Muni Patanjali is not only referring to the physical cleanliness. He's talking about mental, spiritual cleanliness also. Are we thinking good thoughts about other people? Do we have any kind of bad or ill will towards others in ourselves? They say that if you hold a grudge against someone, you're the one holding that burden down. And that's why you're accumulating dirt or toxins in your own body. So even the emotions that we think, the feelings that we have, they also accumulate dirt if they're bad feelings, or they keep you feeling fresh if they're good feelings about other people. So remember that it's not only about taking a bath, it's also about cleansing your emotional toxins, cleansing any spiritual energy that might be negative within you. Right? And we often think other people might be toxic or other people are the problem. Sometimes we have to look deep within and realize in some ways maybe we are the problem. Maybe we need to fix something. And that is why we have shaucha, cleanliness of ourselves from inside. Alright? So that is shaucha. Now let's move to the second one. The second one is called santosh. Another common Hindi word, so you may have heard of this one before. Santosh refers to contentment or satisfaction. Now, sometimes when we ask ourselves, am I content with life? We're not sure. But yoga says, be content. Be content in every given moment so that you're not depending on something external to make you happy. You're automatically happy from within. Because sometimes we wait for an exam, we wait for that A+, 100% marks to come, we wait for somebody to tell us something nice, we wait for some gift to come, then we'll feel good. But yoga says no, don't rely on all these external things. Do yoga, practice creating joy from within you so that you feel content. You can have an aspiration for growth and wanting to become better, but at every step of the way, you can also be content. And give yourself a little pat on the back for where you've come so far. That also is positive self-love and loving yourself in the right way. So that was our second point of santosh. Now let's move forward. We come to the third point, which is tapas. Tapas comes from the Sanskrit root word tapa. And tapa means to burn or to consume with heat. Now, why do we need to do tapa? Why can't we just instantly get something or quickly achieve our goals? Because there is merit, there is some merit in doing something consistently for a long period of time and then achieving the result. Why? Because it changes you in the process. When you're trying to achieve something or do something fantastic, you become better because of the process and who that makes you. Imagine a diamond that is taken out of the rocks or the coal. It's quite dirty, it's not yet looking like a diamond to us. So it has to go through the heating process to become that diamond. And it's a similar case for us. If we want to be at the pinnacle of success, we want to get better, we have to work for it. We can't expect to place an order on an app and have success falling at our feet. We have to stay consistent and really strive, really embody that tapa element to get there. So that's why Patanjali has put this in the self-discipline category. So we always remember that, hey, you're not entitled to constantly win. You need to work for it because of who you become in the process. And then even if you don't win, it was not about the win anyway. It was about who you became while trying to get there. Alright? So that is tapas. Now, we come to the fourth one, which is known as svadhyaya. Svadhyaya refers to self-study, right? And now you might be thinking, but how do I study myself? How do I do that? So self-study refers to self-analysis, constantly checking in with yourself. Maybe you can maintain a journal and start writing down what are the different things that you notice about yourself. Do you have certain habits, certain behaviors, something you want to change? What are your long-term mental and spiritual goals? Who do you want to be in the next 5 years? Svadhyaya helps you to answer these questions. And along with doing journaling, you also can look at the scriptures, the Vedas, the Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavad Puran, and the Mahabharata have such beautiful lessons within them that they teach you about yourself through the characters in those stories. And when we read those characters, we see some of our own traits reflected in them. And by reflecting, we start to change and become better versions of ourselves. So for Svadhyaya, do your own personal practice, but also refer to some great books to give you that guidance and direction on your journey. And then finally, we come to the fifth Niyama. The fifth Niyama is known as, any guesses? Think about it. We finished 4. What could the last one be? Alright, the last one is Ishwar Pranidhan. What does this mean? It means complete surrender to the divine. And this is the divine referring to any power that you believe in. Some higher power that's taking care and protecting all of us. When you do Ishwar Pranidhan, you leave the results of your hard work to some higher power. You focus more on working consistently with the right intention, with the right attitude, and then you say, you know what, I leave the result to the supreme power, creator, whatever it might be, because I think that power knows better. And I'm just going to focus on what's in my control and give my best in that field. When we start operating with this sense of reality and just doing our best with whatever we can, we feel less stressed, we feel less tension, because we know that what is ours will anyway come to us. All we need to do is keep working on the things that are within our ambit of control. And that is Ishwar Pranidhan. So with that, we have completed our 5 yamas and the 5 niyamas. Let's recap the 5 niyamas first, the ones that we just studied. First one, Shaucha, cleanliness of the inside and the outside. Second, what is the second one? Santosh. Why? Contentment. Because we don't want to depend on something outside to keep us satisfied. The third one, tapas. Really working hard, burning with the tap within us to achieve our goals. Fourth one, svadhyaya. Studying, analyzing, understanding ourselves using the journaling method as well as scriptures. And the fifth one, Ishwar Pranidhan, surrendering the fruits of our action to a greater power and saying that may what I deserve come to me. Alright, so these were our 5 yamas and our 5 niyamas. I hope that you are able to understand them. For your reference, these come from the Sutra 2.30 onwards in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, and in Sutra 2.29, Muni Patanjali lists these 8 different limbs of yoga. So you can also refer to the Sutra book to understand it even further. Now I hope that you've taken your notes and that you will study them properly. I will see you now for the next class where we will be studying the 3rd limb known as asanas. And this is actually the most important, most popular limb also. So I hope that you don't miss that lesson, and I look forward to seeing you in the next class. Until then, take care, keep reading yoga theory, and we'll see you very soon. Namaste.